Generally speaking, I'm very bullish on REITs. You probably know this if you follow my work here on YouTube. I invest over half of my portfolio in REITs because I think that today offering a historic opportunity to win big in the coming years as interest rates return to lower levels and REITs recover. But just because I'm heavily invested in REITs does not mean that I'm bullish on every single one of them. I'm still objective enough to recognize that not all glitter is gold. The REIT sector is vast and versatile with over 20 different property sectors, and not all of them are worth buying. Moreover, there are many REITs that are poorly managed and over-leveraged. Hey, this is Yossi. I run a small investment firm that specializes in REIT investing, and in today's video I'm going to talk to you about the dark side of the real estate investment trust sector, and I'm going to highlight 5 specific categories of REITs that you should avoid at all costs. But before I get started, I want to let you know that we just recently posted a few new REIT CEO interviews at High Yield Landlord, and you can read them completely for free as part of our free tier of the newsletter. Make sure to check the first link in the description of this video. Also sign up for the free tier. It costs nothing and get access to great investment research on the REIT sector. So the first category of REITs that you should avoid at all costs are externally managed REITs. What you need to understand here is that REITs can be managed either internally or externally, and while this may seem like a small difference, it's really a big deal. Internally managed REITs have dedicated management teams that work for the REIT as employees. The salary of the management is then typically tied to some key performance indicators such as the growth of the REIT and its returns. It leads to better alignment of interest between the shareholders and the management, and it also leads to greater economies of scale, and this is why most REITs are today internally managed. But there is still a minority of REITs that are externally managed, and what this means is that the management is outsourced to an external asset management company like Blackstone. The issue here is that the fees earned by the managers are typically tied to the volume of assets under management, which will incentivize the manager to issue a lot of shares to raise capital and grow the portfolio as much as they can. It leads to significant conflicts of interest, and it has historically led to much worse returns for externally managed REITs versus internally managed REITs. The best example here is the case of Global Net Lease, which is an externally managed REIT, versus Agri Realty, which is an internally managed REIT. But otherwise, they are fairly similar, both on net lease REITs, but their performance has been day and night. I'll put a chart on the screen where you'll see that Agri Realty has done far better for its shareholders over the long run. Fortunately, Global Net Lease has just recently internalized their management, but there are still many other REITs that use this external management structure. I would avoid most of them. Then the second category of REITs to avoid are mortgage REITs. It's very tempting to invest in some of them because they commonly offer very high dividend yields, often in excess of 10%. But I'll put a table on the screen comparing the returns of mortgage REITs to traditional equity REITs which own properties, and you'll see that they've been typically far more rewarding over the long run. Despite offering high dividend yields, mortgage REITs have typically been very poor investments on a total return basis over the long run, as their high dividends have been matched with declining share prices. The issue with most mortgage REITs is that their businesses are very heavily dependent on macro factors that are near impossible to predict, and certain changes to interest rates and spread can make or break their businesses, and this makes most of these REITs uninvestable in my opinion. I avoid most of them. We only own a position in the preferred equity of KKR Real Estate Finance at High Yield Landlord. We bought it when it was trading at a steep discount to its par value. It has since recovered quite a bit, and therefore I would not buy more of it. There are better opportunities on the equity side of the REIT market. And by the way, if you want to access our full portfolio, you can do so by joining High Yield Landlord with the first link in the description of this video. The third category of REITs to avoid are diversified REITs, and what you need to understand here is that most REITs today specialize in a specific property sector in order to become experts and develop competitive advantages. But there are some REITs that still prefer to diversify and invest across many different property sectors, and the issue with this approach is that you cannot be a jack of all trades and expect to earn above average returns. The REIT market recognizes this and has now priced most diversified REITs at steep discounts relative to their specialized peers, and this puts them at a disadvantage because they suffer much higher cost of capital. A good example here is Gladstone Commercial, ticker symbol GOOD. It's a diversified REIT that has consistently traded at a fairly low valuation multiple, and yet it has significantly underperformed over the long run, likely because of its higher cost of capital and its low market sentiment. But while I avoid most diversified REITs, it's also important to know that such situations can lead to interesting investment opportunities. Gladstone Commercial, as an example, is now in the process of repositioning its portfolio towards industrial properties, and this will likely lead to a better market sentiment and higher valuation for the company. We just recently had the chance to interview their president for High Yield Landlord, my REIT newsletter, and they explained to us that they expect to surpass 70% of their revenue coming from industrial properties within 12 to 18 months from now. By the way, this is one of those interviews that I mentioned earlier. You can read it completely for free. You'll find a link to it somewhere in the description of this video. I think that Gladstone might be getting opportunistic, but apart from such exceptional situations with a portfolio transformation, I would stay away from these REITs. The fourth category of REITs to avoid are foreign REITs, and I need to specify here that I actually own many foreign REITs. I'm not saying that you should stay away completely from them, but most foreign markets are still very young, and as a result, most foreign REITs are today poorly managed and suffer significant conflicts of interest, and therefore you need to be even more selective when investing in foreign markets. This is partially true in Asia, where most REITs are externally managed and shareholders are often taken advantage of. So just because you're bullish on a specific country or region of the world does not mean that you should buy their REITs. On the contrary, you should probably stick to the US unless you have access to superior research on these foreign opportunities. The fifth and final category to avoid may be obvious to some of you, but those are office REITs. Today, many value investors are buying office REITs thinking that work from home is a temporary phenomenon and that this will lead to a strong recovery in the coming years, but I think that's a lot more complex than that. Yes, most companies won't go full remote, but most companies won't make a full return to the office either. The way forward is a hybrid of the two, and this will likely lead to materially less demand for office space, and it will also lead to different and changing needs and desires from tenants, forcing landlords to heavily reinvest in their properties. Today, office vacancy rates are already at an all-time high of 20%, and it's expected to grow closer to 25% in the coming years as more leases expire. I think that the rising capex requirements will drain the cash flow for years to come, and if you adjust for that, office REITs like Boston Properties and SL Green are quite pricey today. Ultimately, these REITs may still do fine, but I think that some other property sectors will do a lot better. Now let me know in the comment section below what other categories of REITs you're avoiding and what are your favorite REITs to buy today. And otherwise, thank you very much for your support. If you could please click the like button, that will help me a lot to keep on growing and producing all this free content for you. Thank you very much, and see you at my next one. Bye-bye.